Welcome to day 1717. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, documenting the journey, primarily the business journey, as I have transitioned from the brick and mortar corporate world of business to the online world of business, following my divorce, and then back and forth again. And now I just work with all kinds of businesses because I firmly believe that every business should have an online presence. When I was running and operating my own businesses, we had, well, the internet was new, right? And I'm still running my own businesses. And now I firmly believe and teach other people how to make sure we have both an offline and an online presence. Why? Because an online presence is one of the great equalizers. It's one of the fastest, easiest ways to get the attention of the people that you want to get the attention of in order to grow and build and supersize your business. So today and for this part of October, we're talking about paradoxes. And paradoxes are things that seem absurd or outrageous or outlandish when you first hear them. But then when you start to think about them, you realize, oh my God, that's absolutely true. And today's is, the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. And I have found that in my life, and probably all of our lives, we can think of examples of where we succeeded only after we tried maybe hundreds, dozens for sure, but maybe hundreds or thousands of times. We've all learned to walk. Walking is one of those things that can teach us and remind us that we didn't just throw in the towel and decide we're going to give up. Walking is not for us as little babies. We're just never going to walk. And there's so many lessons to be learned from that one experience, that early childhood experience, that if we were to apply it in everything in life, we'd be a lot healthier, a lot happier, and a lot more successful. Because we would realize that all the attempts, all the falling down and banging our head and bruising our knees and skinning and cutting and hurting ourselves was worth it, because we achieved the goal of being able to walk and then run, etc., and do all the other things we wanted to do. But we didn't just all of a sudden get up from crawling one day, the first attempt, and walk. And maybe there's someone that's done that. My son was probably the closest to that I've ever seen. And he didn't ever walk, though. He ran. And I think he kept running because the momentum kept him upright longer than he would run until he ran into something, and then he'd fall down. Then he'd get right back up and run to something else. But for most of us, we try and fall and try and fall and try and fall. And it's true of everything we want in life. I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking back to, is there any success that I achieved that I didn't have to really work for, that I didn't have to practice and learn and study or make a bunch of attempts and try a bunch of different things before I actually achieved it? And I cannot think of a single one. I can't think of a single thing in my life that I've achieved, or I think of as an achievement or a success, that I didn't screw up a whole bunch of times until I got there. And we always, somehow, I don't know, as we get older, we're led to believe that we'll try something a couple of times, and if it doesn't work, we just quit. Or that we can't step out of our comfort zone because we might fall down, we might fail. We're not born with a fear of failure, right? We're born with a fear of loud noises, a fear of falling, which is amazing that we learn to walk when we are born with a fear of falling, yet we'll fall down hundreds or thousands of times as we learn to walk, as we learn to do different things. And I think that's our superconscious teaching us that we are capable of anything if we set our mind on that end goal and we're willing to take the steps along the way to get there. And failure is just a stepping stone. Failure is just part of the journey. And we don't have to call it failure. I like to call failure stepping stones or lessons learned, because that's what it really is. You know, there's so many stories of this in our life and so many examples we can take to make us feel better about when we screw up or make a mistake or say the wrong thing or fall down or choose the wrong business partner or choose the wrong mate or partner, whatever. So I think it's important to remember this. And then our idiom for supersize your business today, to coincide with this, and I think it fits really, really well, is to make a comeback. When you make a comeback, you return to your former successful career. Maybe it's after you retire or after you have some kind of a health challenge or a drinking or alcohol or addiction type challenge. There's lots of movie stars we've seen this with. They'll be in the limelight, then they lose favor or they stop acting for a while, and then they show up again. I think Angela Lansbury in Murder, She Wrote, it was her comeback. John Travolta, and God, I want to think it was, I can't remember what his first movie was back that he was really popular in, but I think of the movie Face Off, and then there's a whole bunch of those movies that he, not Face Off, but a bunch of those action thriller movies that he did that brought him back to notoriety. Johnny Depp is now having a comeback after all his crazy stuff with Amber Heard. I don't know if anyone on the planet, if I've heard about it, probably most everybody has heard about that. Robert Downey Jr. is one of my favorite comeback stories. Loved Robert Downey Jr. early in his career, and then he ran into some challenges and came back full force live in the Iron Man and the Marvel series, etc. So he's bigger and better than ever. We can think of famous people that have had huge comebacks like this. Athletes, business people. I gave the example of Donald Trump. Whether you love him or hate him, he, like so many business people, has gone bankrupt, lost all his money, and then made it back again. It's all about being willing to stand up again after we've had a setback, an obstacle, a failure, because we all have them. It is just part of the process. And as much as we want, and many people just want to quit and give up, failure isn't final unless we decide to make it so, right? It's just one more thing that did or didn't work. I always think of Thomas Edison, gets credit for creating the light bulb, 10,000 attempts, and it's one of the most famous stories we hear. In science especially, in different fields, and I'm an engineer by trade, or by education, so it's just part of the process. It's part of the engineering, design, redesign, continuous improvement process. We're always going to be moving forward. So this is one of my favorite topics, I think, the topic of failure and success and how we define those things. Like I said, when I redefined failure as just a stepping stone, it took all the zing out of it, because so many times we beat ourselves up because we think we failed and it's the end of the world. Whenever there's a tragedy or a problem or a trauma or a setback or an obstacle, and don't we have those every day, we think, oh my God, it's the end of the world. If we think it's the end of the world, it could be the end of it for us. But if we think about, oh, that just happened, what am I going to do now? And then we just do the next thing and keep moving forward, nothing can stop us. All right. If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, have an absolutely fabulous day, and I will be with you tomorrow.